AI is going to semantically query that data. So you want to make sure it's exposed and it's clean and that it's actually telling the story that you want it to tell. So if you have an incomplete catalog or one that's invisible to the agents in the first place, then your store is going to be invisible to your customers that are searching this way.
Welcome to the Bright Commerce Podcast.
All right, this is the Bright Commerce Podcast, episode 26. Today's title is From Browsing to Buying, How AI Agents Will Reshape E-Commerce. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bright Commerce. I'm Carlos, and today we are diving into a topic that anyone in e-commerce needs to pay attention to. We are talking about Agentic Commerce, MCP, and what might honestly be one of the biggest shifts in online buying behavior we've ever seen. This is one of those conversations where the future is not 5 or 10 years away. It's showing up now. And to help us break it all down, I've got Brent MacKinnon with me from WooCommerce. How you doing, Brent?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sounds good. I lead product marketing and developer advocacy at Woo. I've been at Woo for a while now. I've been here maybe 7.5 years almost. So I've been around for a lot of the twists and turns, but this is a particularly exciting time to be in e-commerce. So this will be a good one.
Awesome. All right. So thanks for joining us. And then we're gonna dive in. We're just gonna set the stage. So we're gonna keep it really simple. So for someone hearing these terms for the first time, what is agentic commerce?
So at the simplest level, we're sort of talking about the shift from humans browsing and clicking through websites to like AI agents doing that work for you. So the research, the comparison shopping, eventually the transactions maybe. But I think it's worth being honest about where we actually are. I think very few people are checking out through agents today. But I do think that the promise is real, but the timeline might be a bit longer than the hype sort of suggests. I think it's sort of like e-commerce itself. Everyone knew e-commerce would be huge and would be everything. It takes certain cultural tipping points to push it mainstream or to push through different boundaries. I mean, COVID was a big one. I think that's what finally normalized things like contactless payments or online groceries, things like that. People are in a similar phase now with AI where certain things might happen that push us into making more transactions with agents, but I don't know if that's the truth on the ground today.
Well, sort of like SaaS, right? SaaS was a big announcement 20 years ago, and little by little, it started to consume how software was pushed to the user, right? Kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, totally. I think like there are big impacts happening now from this whole phase that we're in. The big one where I think the real value is now, it's the place where I think a lot of stores are paying attention to. It's discovery. So people are already doing their research inside these AI agents, and being found there is huge. So it helps close the gap that opened up a few years ago when you couldn't just like buy a bunch of Facebook ads to get in front of your customers anymore. Like things started to get hairy in that world. So now people are discovering products through agents, even if they're not making the transactions yet. So it's real, and it's a big change that's happening now. So then people might not check out using their agent tomorrow, but the investments that you make now trying to understand this space and trying to be discoverable to these agents will be valuable for anybody running a store.
I got you. So instead of search, browse, buy, it becomes more like intent, agent, get it done, right?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right to me.
So let's kind of like shift to MCP. So where does the term MCP fit into all of this?
Yeah, it's kind of like two sides of the story, right? MCP is the layer that lets an AI agent interact with your store on your behalf. So like with your actual website and your commerce platform, and it actually interact with it, not just read from it. So it can pull product data, which is an obvious example, but it can also take actions on your behalf. It could create products or run discounts or pull analytics, into plain language if you want. So agentic commerce versus MCP is sort of like the difference between AI being able to look at your store and AI being able to actually work inside it.
I got you. So this is more than just like product recommendation, right? Because in a way, that's also AI, right? Product recommendation, or we also start with Netflix or YouTube where it says you may also like. This is AI actually doing commerce for you, like actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And these sort of open standards for things like MCP are going to make it easier for you to, in any agent of your choice, take a lot of different actions. And especially if you're someone who's non-technical, it breaks down some barriers in terms of you being able to take actions within your website or within your store that you might have not been able to before.
Yeah. Also, like you're talking about like the back end, right? Like quickly being able to determine, hey, what's my best converting product, or give me some enhanced analytics on a particular segment or journey or category, that kind of thing, right? So it's not just a front end thing. it's also a backend.
Yeah, absolutely. And it means like if you've got the right questions, you can learn the right things. Like before, I can't, query SQL or anything like that. But now with certain MCPs that, if they're plugged into the right tools, if you can just ask in plain language, you can learn what you want to understand. So it's a powerful tool for all types of merchants and developers.
So cool. So let's talk about this new customer journey, right? So what does buying look like in this MCP world or AI world?
I think you kind of nailed it with your breakdown. I think it definitely becomes intent driven. So instead of you browsing 10 different sites and comparing running shoes, you'll tell the agent what you need and you'll tell it your budget and your preferences and your timeline and stuff like that. And it'll sort of handle that discovery phase. And your agent might know things about you or your lifestyle or your preferences, where you live, might know more about your intent than a simple Google search would have. So in the near term, I think the biggest shift is in research. Like the agent will do the comparison shopping for you. It'll surface the options for you. You'll still make the final call. At least I am when I'm shopping and searching online. But that research phase is kind of where you need to show up. And more, that's going to be happening between shoppers and their AI agents.
Gosh, you just nailed it. I'm actually running a high rocks race this weekend, and I'm embarrassed to like tell you how many running shoes I have because it's just kind of like my thing. But I was just wondering, like, hey, what's going to be my best shoe for high rocks? Because it's a bit of a hybrid race. There's running, there's a lot of pushing and pulling, and all sorts of machines. ChatGPT was able to tell me what shoe I should wear based on what time I was aiming for. And it also forecasted my time based on all the workload that I've been doing for the last year.
Yeah,
So
man, I think the reason I use running shoes as an example is I went through some of the same thing last year. I ran my first half marathon last fall, and I did the same thing. And I think if I was left to my own devices to research, I would have been looking at, best running shoes, and I'm looking at things with carbon plates and all this stuff. When I went to my agent, yeah, I was like, where should I start? It was like, if you're just starting, you do not need a race shoe. You need this shoe. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. And I mean, what I hope we don't lose is you can go to your local running store. They'll help you through that same decision. But it definitely helped me skip some steps. And it was a recommendation that I might not have gotten from a Google search.
I feel you. Yeah, the running store will help you, but I tell you what, my youngest son is a soccer player. So from time to time, we buy shoes in the physical world. And, Brent, a lot of times they're out of stock or they don't have his size. So that's kind of like the downside of brick and mortar, right?
God forbid you have a wide foot, then you're really left searching for the shoe who's got something in stock.
So Brent, do websites even matter anymore? I mean, like, as a web agency, are we kind of out of business in terms of like design and development, the UI, the UX?
I don't think so. I think priorities will change and their design and UX matters will be a little different. But in general, I think your website's still the source of truth. Like the agents themselves need somewhere to pull information from. They need accurate, rich information about your products and your company so that they can make these recommendations. It's sort of similar to the like SEO conversations that we've had over the last 15 years. Like as SEO evolved beyond the like early technical days, the advice sort of became like make a well-structured, high-quality website with strong content and Google will find you. And I think that's sort of the same thing here. You just need to tailor your site and content for AI differently and adjust your user experiences to match how people are searching and finding your brand. So your product pages need rich text-based content that agents can actually scan. So the days of like having all your company content on some back about page that Google can find and your story somewhere else and the product information told on Instagram, but then your product page just being a slick landing page, just like a button and a checkout or a picture and a checkout button. I think that doesn't really work anymore. Like I think the product page itself needs to tell fuller, more interesting stories in text that these AI agents can find. So I think the website's super important. It's just different now.
I think what you're saying is, if I'm understanding it right, it's like the website stops being the storefront. It's really more about the back end now, right? How much data does your catalog have?
Yeah, I mean, once you get them in the door, though, you still have to convert those customers. They're going to see your page, and they're going to make those decisions, and that impression that you leave them with will influence like loyalty and that sort of stuff. But definitely, if you build it, they will come. Sort of your whole storefront exists and people shop it. That might not be the case. They're going to come in through different doors and make decisions differently.
Yeah. So essentially, what happens to product discovery?
Right. I think like product discovery changes a little bit. Brand loyalty changes a little bit. How you earn both of those things changes. So discovery shifts from like visually browsing stores to like structured data matching. Like the agents are going to need to surface those things for your customers. So you're going to want to make sure that your catalog data is clean. And if it is cleaner and more complete, and has all it's rich in all of the attributes about your products, then you have a better chance of winning and being discovered in the first place. And then on the other side of the conversation, your product itself and the community around it and your brand experience is still what's going to earn the loyalty. But I mean, your brand needs to show up in the first place. So no one's loyal to a brand that they've never discovered, right? So you need to surface the trust signals, reviews, complete product information, and that's going to be how you'll show up. And then keeping it up to date and accessible is how you'll stay relevant as agents continue to filter through these questions from their.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's make this practical for store owners. If I have a WooCommerce store today, like what should I be doing or what should I be focusing on?
Yeah, I think the product catalog is going to be the beating heart of your storefront. Like AI is going to semantically query that data. So you want to make sure it's exposed and it's clean and that it's actually telling the story that you want it to tell. So if you have an incomplete catalog or one that's invisible to the agents in the first place, then your store is going to be invisible to your customers that are searching this way. Agents want to know everything about your product, and so you need to tell them. And then the second thing is, I was touching on this before, but I think your product pages need to be complete. You need rich text content, not just images and videos, but things that agents can actually parse. So the attributes, variants, availability, detailed descriptions. Like if an agent can't understand your product, then it's not going to recommend it to customers. And then the last thing is to think about your data structure. So structured data, clean taxonomy. It's the same idea sort of as the structural elements on a page that helped Google find you. Although instead of headers and metadata, you need the right things in the right places in your product catalog and those taxonomies so that AI can understand what you're selling.
From what I've been reading out there, it's very reliant on schema data on the front end side.
Yeah, totally. And how you surface it is going to change how it recommends you or if it recommends you.
I guess it's going to be all about mapping, right? Mapping that front end to all the attributes and metadata on the back end is what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sorry, I got to go back to this because this is just like throwing me for a loop. But like, does design matter less now?
I don't think so. Like, I don't think it goes away at all, but it sort of adjusts where it is in your priority list relative to data quality, how accessible your store is programmatically, that sort of thing. Like humans are still going to visit the website. The agent might do the research, but plenty of people will still click through and they'll verify before they buy. They want to see what you're all about. They want to see what's available. They want to make the transaction for now. So you kind of need both. If I had to pick where I spend my next dollar, I would put it in my data and in my product pages before a full brand redesign or something like that.
So in this world, API beats UI.
It's certainly the first thing that gets you exposed. I hate to say both and, but something true about that. The API is going to be what gets them there, but your UI is going to be what creates a repeat customer probably. And your product itself.
What happens at checkout?
I think checkout stays on the site for now. Long term, if I knew exactly where it was going, I would be making those bets instead of whatever else I'm doing. But long term, I think it could move into agents, into wallets, into other platforms. The website might not own the like button click of the purchase experience forever, but I think your site will still power that experience, and your e-commerce platform will still facilitate the transaction. The website is still crucial, but it could play a different role. And the checkout itself, I think, will still be facilitated by the same platform you're building your checkout pages on now. And that's a bit of the longer timeline that I was talking about before. So, but for now, I think that optimizing for being discovered in the first place and having the data ready, the checkout piece is super important today. And it will evolve, but the merchants who are preparing for whatever comes next will be ahead of the game when things do evolve.
It's funny because, over the years, we always talked about and focused on optimizing the site funnel. But now it's almost like we're kind of losing control of that, right?
A little bit, but that's a story that I've heard for a while too. Like there was sort of a thought of a linear progression through a website, like they'd click here, then they'd go here, and then they'd go here. I think people have realized that that's not how everyone discovers every brand. Like you kind of have a web of landing pages that pull you in one way or another. And if you run a sale, that's a different first page they see. Like I think preparing for a world where your product page is the full story about that product and you have multiple entry points to get people there, whether it's AI or a marketplace listing in a marketplace you use or directly from an ad, like thinking about the fact that customers are paying attention and way more places now, and you need to be in front of those customers wherever they're paying attention, including an AI agent. I think that's the right mindset to be in.
Brent, would you say if I mention her name, she might start talking to me? But it's an Amazon product. Wouldn't you say Amazon has kind of like been the pioneer of this? Because you've been able to purchase products through Amazon for quite a few years now, right? So it's kind of similar to that, but essentially it's democratized now. Now it's for everybody.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it definitely started to train us all in the habit of just asking for what we're looking for and getting a result. I don't know that there are necessarily at an advantage in terms of Amazon being the winner in the next phase, but definitely they trained us on different types of behavior. And I think we'll see things continue to change. And there is this sense of like whoever gets closest to the customer wins. So I would never count out Amazon or Apple or any of these companies from being like, that's the thing you're interacting with. And that might be where we need to show up next.
All right, let's do like a bit of a tech dive into this. Let's dive into MCP. So how does MCP actually work?
MCP is like an open standard that lets AI agents plug into external stuff. So before MCP, if you wanted an AI agent to interact with your store, you'd need some custom integration. So MCP standardizes that so that any AI agent can talk to any system that exposes an MCP. So for e-commerce, that means whatever AI agent you're using can read your product catalog, check inventory, pull your sales data. It can even make changes on your behalf, like to pricing or product descriptions. And that's all through one standardized interface. So because it's an open standard, it's not locked to any one AI provider. So Claude or ChatGPT or whatever else you use, they all connect the same way. So when we talk about AI development, MCP is sort of the plumbing that makes it all possible.
I got you. So if I understand it, it's almost like MCP standardizes the whole interaction layer, right? It's not just like an open API where everybody can just exchange data in a specific format. It's very much formatted to that MCP protocol or syntax, for lack of a better explanation there. All right. So what, as a store owner, like how do you plug into that layer? Like what systems do you need to essentially plug into it?
The good thing about MCP being like an open standardized protocol is that it's quite easy to plug in any AI tool you're using, and how you connect changes based on how you're using it. If you're using a Claude in your desktop, then you'll have to go through an integration in one way. But realistically, if you're going to open up Claude code and want to use it, it's a simple like line of one command, and then it'll integrate the MCP for you because Claude just knows how to integrate those MCPs. So if you wanted to come and use the WooCommerce MCP, we'll have a line of code for you and you can install it and get working.
Wow. All right. I'm going to get a little controversial on you, right? Because that's like, look, we're all human, right? Oh, here's one for you. Who owns the customer in this world?
That's the big question. I mean, the goal from my point of view, or from WooCommerce's point of view, is that the brands themselves need to own the customer. Like the merchant owns the data, the merchant owns the site, the merchant has full control. If the primary interface for, transacting or being discovered becomes OpenAI or Google or Amazon or Apple or anyone like that, then they own the relationship. But that's, I think, why open ecosystems and open standards matter so much right now. The path forward, at least from my point of view, is that we shouldn't start locking things down. It's important to us to remain open and provide the tools to our merchants that would let any merchant participate on any platform as things change in e-commerce and in the internet more broadly.
It's funny. It's like this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brent.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, like, this is the first time like Google is actually going to feel the pressure.
Yeah, totally. And I think you'll start to see them reacting to that soon. If I was going to make guesses, like everybody's at a different point and has different advantages. If you look across the ecosystem, like I said, Apple's in your pocket, but Google has the whole workspace and they have access to so many things. So I'm not an expert in this, but one thing I've been noticing lately is the rise of things like people wanting to try their OpenClaw or something like that, like an agent that's always on working for you. I mean, realistically, what are they connecting to? They're connecting to their email and their inbox and their calendar and their messages. And, Google has a lot of that. And they've got the server space to facilitate all this stuff. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if a Google agent shows up and a lot of your behavior switches to that. But, anybody can, I don't think there's much of a first mover advantage these days. Anybody shows up with a tool and people are ready to use it. But it's interesting.
So back to e-com and pricing, what happens to margins in terms of price?
I think agents will definitely optimize pretty aggressively. Like your price transparency will have to go up. Competition will tighten quite a bit. But I think that's where things like product quality, fit, trust signals will remain a moat for brands. Like if you're competing purely on price, then yeah, your margins might shrink and it might just like evaporate that competitive playing field where, if you want the cheapest one, your agent will show you the cheapest one. But if you're competing on like product quality or depth or expertise, I think you can hold your ground. I think merchants who treat their catalog like a strategic asset for telling their brand story will have a good chance at still competing here. I think there'll always be room for premium products at premium pricing. And I think that in people using agents to shop where their agent knows the types of things they like and knows that they like premium quality products and knows that they want to find the actual best thing, the agents might actually work in your favor to maintain you. Or if you're a premium product with high margins, you might be able to still get those customers because actually your intent matters even more now.
The agent may know that, hey, I live in South Florida, so I'm going to get quicker shipping from xyz.com because they're closer to me, right?
Yeah, true. And I might be willing to pay premium for that. So maybe the margins stay around.
All right, so let's bring it down to earth here for a minute. So, as a store owner, what should I be doing like in the next quarter or the next 90 days?
Okay, a few things come to my mind. The first one is to pay close attention to your product data. Fix the quality of your product data. So make sure you've got clean, well communicated attributes for all of your products. You've got structured metadata, consistent taxonomy. I think that's the first thing you should do. It's the highest leverage thing you can do. The next thing would be to prepare for MCPs and APIs and integrations. So make your store accessible programmatically. Like I said before, if agents can't talk to your store and if they can't find your products, then you're going to be invisible to them. So prepare for the agentic world, and especially in terms of discoverability. And then the last thing is to start thinking about your website a bit differently. Agents are going to serve your products to customers, and you're going to have less control over what page shows up in the results page. So the product page might be the first thing they see when they find you. So you need to think about how the story of your product and your brand shows up on those pages so that agents can understand them. And also so your customer's first experience with your product isn't like a dead end empty page with just a checkout button. Like product pages could have a very different role in the future of e-commerce.
All right, this is awesome. I'm gonna hit you up with some rapid fire questions. Okay, this is more of like a little bonus. So okay, so is website first e-commerce dying?
I don't think so. But maybe I've challenged the question a little bit. Like, when's the last time we had website first e-commerce? Like, people's first exposure to your brand is never your website. Nobody's going, I need a pair of running shoes. I'm going to go directly to this new brand site. They're seeing you on Instagram or seeing you in a search result or seeing an ad or getting a recommendation. I think it's the exact same game we've been playing. It's just there's a new power player at the table, which is the AI agents. And so when you think about you wanting to get recommended by an expert in your industry or show up in someone's Instagram feed with an ad, this is another place you need to show up, and you need to be prepared to do that. I think your website still does a lot of the heavy lifting in convincing a customer to choose you or to get them coming back or to connect them into your community so you deepen the relationship. The website's still a huge role, but I'm not sure that we are in website first e-commerce at all, and I think it'll remain that way. And right now, agents are going to be one of the bigger discovery mechanisms.
Okay, here's another one for you: APIs over UIs, or UI rather say.
I think the order of operations just changes a little bit. I think the people building the UI were probably also influencing the look and feel of the ads and the outbound things you were doing to win customers. And I think that's a little different now. The outbound things you're doing to get in front of customers now are going to rely more on these agentic experiences. So I think it's important to have those teams talk to each other still. I think your UI is still super important. How your brand feels to your customers is the thing that makes them, like I said, makes them pick you, makes them come back, makes them feel some loyalty to you. The order of operations usually in my mind is kind of like customers need to know, like, and trust you. So those things all happened from, brand first experiences before. That first one about having them know you, now you're going to depend on these APIs and these agentic experiences to have them know you. If you want them to like and trust you, that still can be communicated through your UI and your brand and your product experience. So it's a little different.
Open ecosystem or closed platform?
Open. I mean, if you could predict the future and you could bet on the closed platform that will bring you there, then maybe that's the move. There's certainly a lot of benefits to closed platforms, especially in commerce. But I think some of those things get more interesting. If one of the benefits of choosing a closed platform before was it was easier to get started, then if you think about the addition of MCP and AI into the experience on an open platform, your ability to start and create the store you want gets a lot easier. So I think that's a win in the open column. I think price was already in the open column. So in my mind, I would bet on the open ecosystem as the thing that will win in the long term, just because of the power of the community behind it and the fact that you get to create whatever you want and control your entire e-commerce store. I mean, I'm biased, but I do believe in the open side of it.
Gotcha. Of course. Yeah. One prediction for 2030.
2030. If I could predict 2026, I'd be happy right now. For 2030, it depends what happens in the world, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do have one of those big cultural moments where people do shift toward more trust in their agents to complete transactions on their behalf. So my early comment was sort of like the agentic purchasing isn't really happening, but that could be happening. I mean, 4 years is a long time. I don't think that changes the immediate playbook for any merchant or store owner right now. If you're operating a brand online and you want to win, I think the steps to take are still the same. It's, invest in these open platforms and open protocols, prepare your site to be discovered, work with companies that are enabling those things. And if the transaction itself happens because an agent is doing it on your behalf, then you're already set up to go. But maybe that's my prediction is I'd say my prediction is I will let an agent purchase something on my behalf by 2030. How about that?
I love it. Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. All right, this is definitely one of these conversations that we have here with you that if you're not paying attention, you're gonna get left behind. Like this isn't just hype, man. This is happening like now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brent, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was great.